What is going on, guys? hons.engl here, and today I got 5 tips or 5 ways for you to improve your landscape photography. So let's go. Intro. So as you might know, I'm doing landscape photography for quite a while now, so I also have some experience with it. And today I thought, why not sharing with you 5 tips or tricks to improve your own landscape photos. So let's get straight into this. So let's start right away with tip number 1, which is weather. You might already be asking yourself what I mean with weather. Basically I mean the weather conditions outside, because in landscape photography the weather is super important and the weather also gives the photo its look. For example, a lot of people mean that it's best to go outside shooting when it's like blue sky and the weather conditions are perfect, but I disagree here, because I don't think that photos that are taken in perfect weather conditions look the best. My recommendation for you guys is try to shoot at different weather conditions, because then you get more interesting photos. Because I think if you take a photo and the sky is just like totally blue, I think it's not so interesting, because you don't have so much information in the sky, and so the photo is most likely just going to be boring. So in landscape photography I think you should just try different things. For example, go out there when it's rainy, go out there when there is a thunderstorm, but don't sleep in a tent like me, that's stupid. Yeah, that was tip number 1, just try to shoot at different weather conditions and you will get way more interesting photos. Then next up we got tip number 2, and also a super important tip: shoot raw. Okay, shooting photos in RAW in general is important, because if you shoot RAW you have more information to edit the photo later and it's just easier to edit a photo. But especially in landscape photography I think you just need to shoot RAW, because JPEG, that's like, I will show you what I think about JPEG photos. This card is full of JPEG photos. Yeah, I just mean in landscape photography, just shoot RAW. Especially in landscape photography you often have a blown out sky or a darker foreground, so you just need to shoot RAW, because when you're back home editing it's going to be way more easier to edit a photo that is shot in RAW. So here we go, that was tip number 2, always shoot RAW. Then next up we got tip number 3, which is using Instagram to find cool places. So if you don't know any cool landscapes or any cool places where you could take photos, just go to Instagram and search for places. I do this all the time, it works so good. For example, let's suppose you live in South Tyrol like me. So I will show how this works quickly. If you open up Instagram on your phone, go over to the Explore tab, then go over to Search and go to Tags. I will just type in South Tyrol, because I'm from South Tyrol, as you might know. Then I see a bunch of different photos here right away. I go to the top best photos and I already see some cool photos, and here I can just, for example, just click at the photo. I already know what this is. You see this photo, amazing lake, Brixen, it's super famous here. So I use this like this. I go over to the tags, type in South Tyrol, and if I see a place that I especially like, and maybe we'll go there to take some photos. For example, the vlog that I filmed a few months ago where I was in St. Magdalena at this church, I also found this spot over Instagram. Just like there are so many amazing places here, and here you can find them the easiest way. I think it's just funny to use Instagram to find new places, new landscapes, and I also did this in the past. I think it's a cool tip, so why not? Tip number 3, use Instagram. So let's go on with tip number 4 now, which is also the most important tip. It's try to take interesting landscape photos. What I mean with trying to take interesting landscape photos, I just mean switching everything up. I think landscape photography is super interesting if you take cool photos, but if you take these boring stand-up photos of a sunset or something like that, it's just like, I mean, when I think about like landscape photography, I think about all these tourists shooting like sunsets with their little cameras on vacation, like they take photos of the sea with the sunset. Hello. That's not how I would like to do this. You might be asking yourself, yeah, how do I take more interesting landscape photos? I would say just try to switch it up. If you have a lake, and everybody's just taking the same photo of this lake. Try different things. I often go to the lake, here's the water, and I go with my camera like this. Maybe send a drone in the air if you have a drone, or just do something to make it more interesting, to make your photos pop, because landscape photography is so cool if you make it good. And my tip is just go out there and try to make something different, something interesting and something new. And that's my most important tip for you guys. Don't try to take landscape photos like everybody else, just like switch it up. Here we go. And the last tip for the day, try to make long exposure photos. You maybe already heard about long exposure photos. It's just a photo where the shutter of the camera, let's just take this. It's just a photo where the shutter of the camera lets in more light. For example, we take an exposure time of 6 seconds. So the shutter will be open 6 seconds long and all the light can go in. And so you get interesting photos. Explaining now how to do this is difficult because I could make a whole video about it, but I just would like to say, if you make landscape photos, try to take long exposure photos, because if you have a river or a lake or something that moves like water or something like that, and you take a long exposure photo, it's going to look like this. And it's just like a cool technique to make your photos pop and just give them that extra. You take a long exposure photo of a river and you see all these water lines and stuff, and it's also a pretty popular technique for landscape photography. And if you would like to learn how to do this, just type in YouTube like how to take long exposure photos or something like that. Yeah, taking long exposure photos in landscape just makes your photos way more interesting. Yeah, I recommend you to try it out. Just try out to take some long exposure photos in landscapes, because your photos are going to stand out then. So there we go, these were my 5 tips and tricks to instantly take better landscape photos. I hope you learned something from this. I hope they are helpful if you would like to improve your own landscape photography. If you enjoy them, let me know in the comments below. Also subscribe to this channel if you're new here. Give this video a like, and I will hopefully see you there in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.